Hello, everyone. Welcome back to AI Showbiz Summit 4.0. It is with the greatest excitement that I introduce someone who I think is one of our most prolific humanitarians of our era, Dr. CHIRINJEEV Kathuria, investor, co-founder, chairman, New Generation PowerPlanetSpace. CHIRINJEEV, thank you for your support, your inspiration, and I don't know if there's anyone who's been more supportive of Yannicka with the words of wisdom and encouragement and just telling us at every step of the way that we're doing great. We really appreciate it. We're so excited to hear your talk. I'm going to turn it over to you now.
You know, I guess I'm the warm-up talk for the main act, which is Yannicka right after me. So just like a band, but you know, what Molly and Yannicka have done, you know, it's just amazing, I think, for all of us. So I thought, you know, maybe the best way when Molly and Yannicka asked me to talk about technology for the good was to kind of tell you the ups and downs that have gone in my life building technology companies and what we learned from them. You know, it's not always been easy. You know, when I graduated from medical school and had an MBA from Stanford, I had a really hard time getting a job. I remember when I went for my first interview, it ended after 5 minutes. And I was so frustrated and disappointed. I told the interviewer, it's okay, it's all right, you'll work for me someday. It probably didn't go over that well, and I didn't get many more interviews after that. But I think all that we were able to accomplish, it took a long time. And, you know, we struggled for 10 years. Two of my most favorite quotes are, you know, when they asked Alexander the Great how he conquered the world, you know, he replied by not delaying. And when they asked Walt Disney what was the secret to his success, and if he could tell others how to make their dreams come true, his simple answer was, you do it by working. And I think whether you look at the Beatles or great technology companies like Microsoft or Google, everyone always says you have to put in your 10,000 hours to get there. Nothing was an overnight success. So I think, you know, if I had to give, you know, some advice or pieces of advice to people who are listening, is always be passionate about what you do. You know, never give up and believe in the possible. And when you create a company, see if you can do some greater good. One of the first companies that we were involved in was the Extreme. And our idea was, it was the time when you guys remember, You've Got Mail, AOL, and dial-up, and you'd hear this little eerie sound before you connected. We thought if we could start a technology company and give everyone free internet access, it could help a lot of people communicate with people around the world. And I remember our first marketing slogan was, all the best things in life are free, love, sex, and extreme. And I remember overnight, we grew to be one of the largest ISPs in the UK. We merged with LibertyServe, and the combined company went public for a little bit under 3 billion on the Paris Stock Exchange. Robin, can you play maybe the first video if you get a chance?
Two cosmonauts are in the Russian space station Mir after successfully docking with the craft several hours ago.
When the Soyuz rocket was launched Tuesday, it signaled what could be a new era in manned space missions. The voyage of cosmonauts Sergei Zalyotin and Alexander Kaleri made possible only by private sector funding.
There's fascinating things we can do, but the main thing to remember that, you know, this is a commercial conduit to the future commercialization of space, and there is no other company that's doing it right now.
So, when I was 13 years old, I wanted to be an astronaut. And when I found out I had to wear glasses, I had my mom take me to 3 different eye doctors because I thought by wearing glasses, I'd never get a chance to be an astronaut. And it was great during one of the executive sessions. I saw a person who helped start MirCorp with us. I think it's been probably over maybe 10 years. And MirCorp launched the first privately funded manned mission to space. So after almost 25 years, dreams, they do come true. But, the Mir space station got deorbited. I remember Taco Bell put a big banner in the middle of the ocean and said if any of the pieces hit the banner, everyone in America could get a free taco. I remember I wasn't too happy with that ad. But we spent the next, 10 years building aerospace companies. One of the companies was PlanetSpace. And we teamed up with Lockheed Martin, ATK, and Boeing to bid on the NASA Crew and Cargo Services contract. Today, Aero Group, we do everything from drone services. We're building passenger drones. And if you remember that movie Top Gun, we're part of the aggressor program to help train Air Force pilots. But it started out as doing something as a greater good of just wanting to go into space. With the current COVID-19 crisis, it reminds me of what happened in 2008. With the downturn of the economy, the 2 hardest hit sectors were the internet and the telecom. And it was severe to entrepreneurs like me who had the misfortune of being in these 2 spaces. But I thought I still have a few good years left and I'm still not married. Maybe I should try to make something and start something more. So when people used to come into an emergency room and, God forgive, you had an accident or a gunshot wound, it's really important to know what's going on internally. But you can imagine if you're an ER doctor and someone came in, you can't wait till someone read the MRI or CT report. The person may not live through it. So we basically thought, well, what if we could take an MRI or a CT, because it's digital, send it via the internet to a radiologist so they could read it on their phone or their iPad and send a preliminary diagnosis back to the ER. And that company all of a sudden grew very quickly. They talk about it in that book, The World is Flat, and hopefully we've helped save thousands of lives. Today, that company is in 4,000 hospitals, and Morgan Stanley and Cohen & Company took it public for a little bit over 700 million. And today we still provide radiology services. It was the first telemedicine company to be created. Now, if you look at COVID-19, everyone thought telemedicine would be very slow, but almost now 50% of visits are virtual, and telemedicine has become so important. Again, showing how technology can be used again for the greater good. Robin, can you prepare, maybe play the next video?
Research institutions have this major problem. All the fruits of the research ends up at a point where, like, okay, now what do we do? How do we get it to the market? And only a small fraction ends up moving across the so-called valley of death. Why not develop this biomedical asset factory that is geared to be very efficient at picking assets that are interesting commercially and then working on them in the most efficient way, but doing a bunch of them in parallel? Nobody's doing that.
What if we could really create the next generation biopharma company? If you could find a way to take these really good ideas
and match it with capital and actually get a return, almost venture philanthropy, you could really change the landscape.
It's a great, innovative new structure to get more drugs out there in a quicker fashion. He's expanding the pie for everyone. He's making it valuable for the researchers and for the universities, and he's making it really valuable in the sense of impacting lives for the patients.
There's so much demand for philanthropic capital. If they could take that same $1 billion and put it to something that we're doing and develop vaccines, cures for cancer, aging, treatments, and actually get that money back, it just makes a lot more sense. It's not about creating wealth, it's about really, making a lasting difference on humanity.
Music bed.
So one of the things that came out of that program, because universities have a lot of assets, but they get stuck in the valley of death. So last week we announced a discovery of a malaria vaccine. It's so sad that the COVID-19 virus has killed almost, as of today, 260,000 people worldwide. And malaria kills almost 500,000 children a year. Maybe Robin, can you put up the last week's press release? So this just shows we were able to take assets out of Brown University and develop it into a malaria vaccine, which we hope can prevent the deaths of hundreds of thousands of kids every year. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, Robin, I've done crazy things. I thought, well, maybe another way to really promote technology and do some good in the world is try to run for politics. Robin, can you share the one picture? Okay. So, I thought I'd try to run for the US Senate. I obviously didn't win, so I'm here talking to you, but I guess if you're gonna lose to someone, it'd be good to lose to the future, president of the United States. So, I wanted to, make sure we also had some time for questions and really make sure we save time for Jannika's talk. So, I just wanted to end with, two things. People always talk about celebrity and fame. And, I always thought, what does it really mean and what's important in life? If I asked you, who are the 5 richest people in the world, or the 5 winners of the Best Actor or Best Actress award, nobody would remember. But if I asked you, who were the people you loved the most, or the 5 people who influenced you the most, you would immediately remember. So remember what's important in your life. I saw one quick question people asked me about energy. Clean energy, hopefully with COVID-19, won't disappear and lose focus. In fact, renewable energy stocks are up over 40%. But what I wanted to do was end with a quote from Robert Frost. The woods are long, lovely, and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. Thanks, Molly. Thanks, Jannika.
Oh, CHIRINJEEV, that's my favorite poem ever. Thank you for that talk. It was so moving. Thank you for sharing your life and your journey. We still have some more time, and I think what I'm going to do is ask a question, and then I'm just following up with our next speaker. And while I do that, maybe you could answer. It's a question I've asked several people, CHIRINJEEV, and it's about grit. Obviously, you have it. Many people don't. They give up way too early or don't even take action and try. What advice, I mean, I I have tried to teach it, perseverance, and certainly now more than ever we need that. We have to dig deep and find it as entrepreneurs. Can you give any advice about where your grit has come from? I mean, you faced tremendous adversity in your lifetime, and here you are triumphing. Please give us any words of wisdom you have on that topic, please.
You know, someone told me that nothing ever really good happens in a day, and nothing ever really bad happens in a day. So don't get too disappointed, you know, just keep on going. I think Thomas Edison said some people didn't realize how close to success they were when they quit. And if you look at whether you're an entrepreneur or relationships or finding the person you love or who you're going to get married to, the idea is just to keep going. Most business plans that companies start, I think on average will change almost 3 times. I remember each one of our companies, none of them was what we started for. I think in New Generation Power, we just wanted to be a broker selling solar panels. So I think, you know, so I think things, so I would just say, never give up. I think very few people have married the first person they dated with. So just keep on going. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do it. I think that's, you know, the key. And I think if you persevere, you'll eventually make it, and do things that are going to make you happy. Because whatever you want to do, whether you want to be an actress, an engineer, an artist, or an entrepreneur, I think if you're happy, you're going to persevere. That's the most important thing. Do things that'll make you happy, and don't worry about what other people say.
Hi there, CHIRINJEEV, it's Yannicka. We actually have a question from the audience. Can you talk about your energy ventures?
Sure. I want to leave time to make sure for the main act, but just, you know, really quickly, you know, solar and wind were mostly developed in the developed world because there were tax credits, ITCs, 1603. Well, we started looking at, can we bring solar and wind to the emerging markets? And we found out that they're almost, you know, I think in one of the presentations for the, you know, the award pitches, almost 20% of the world, or almost 1 billion people, don't have electricity. And solar and wind, in these countries, you don't need tax credits. You just need basic energy to build, you know, to dig the lines, to build all these natural gas and coal plants. You can put up wind and solar. And same thing that happened in cell phones. You can bypass, you know, landlines and give everyone mobile phones. But now even in US and Europe, you know, renewable energy is almost at par, in some cases cheaper. So I think you're going to see a great growth in renewable energy. And I think, as people said, renewable energy stocks are up by 40%, while the overall market, you know, is down by, you know, not a significant amount, but some amount.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you so much, CHIRINJEEV. Your talk was so moving, and all conversations I have with you are. Thank you for your dedication to this event and your support of Yannicka and I. We're extremely grateful.
Yeah, thanks, Molly and Yannicka. What you did is just truly amazing. I think everyone was just, you know, wow. So this is great. You really helped the world with everything you're doing and brought a lot of people together. So thank you.